Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today, we got another episode of reviewing NHL teams offseason so far. As today, we're going to be reviewing the Chicago Blackhawks crazy damn offseason that they've had. But before we get into that, I'd like to just say, if you are new to the channel, make sure to slap that subscribe button and hit that like button as well. That'll be very much appreciated, boys. The Chicago Blackhawks, they've had a pretty weird offseason so far. They traded for Seth Jones, which I gotta say was a pretty big overpayment, and then just absolutely ruined the defensive core market value and signed Seth Jones to a ridiculous $9.5 million deal for Seth Jones. What was it, like 7-8 years for Seth Jones? It was nuts for Seth Jones, and it absolutely blew my mind. Yeah, 8 years, so it was like a sign and trade basically, and they signed the man for an 8-year deal with a full-blown no movement clause, which hurts to say because honestly, I'm not the hugest fan of Seth Jones, which I'll get into now because I think this is the biggest thing that, happened over the Chicago Blackhawks offseason was this move that they made for Seth Jones. And, of course, I'm not the biggest fan of it. You look over his stats and the way that he played over the past 2 years, he didn't have the greatest 2 years, without a doubt. Even his third year wasn't even the greatest. I think around the time that he was really good was around Nashville, starting of his career in Columbus. I would have to say he was a decent defenseman. Now, is he worth $9.5 million? No way, Jose. He's not worth that. Now, could he bounce back? I think he could, but I don't think he's going to be a top 2 defenseman for the Chicago Blackhawks. I don't think he's ever going to be worth that amount of money. And could he prove me wrong? Hell yeah, but I think this deal that they made was stupid. It was very stupid. They got a first round pick back, sure, at the 32nd overall. Again, Nolan Allen, which is an pick. But you traded away Adam Boqvist, who probably would have been a lot better than Seth Jones. Then you also traded away a first-round pick, which ended up being Cole Sillinger, which was a really good pick, and then a second-round pick, and a conditional first-round pick. And if the condition on it is if Chicago wins one of the 2022 draft lotteries, the pick becomes their 2023 first round pick. So if they don't make it in the playoffs this year, then it's the Chicago pick if it's like a lottery pick or whatever. So anyways, I think the deal was dumb. You lost a defenseman who probably turned out to be like a Seth Jones and Adam Boqvist, and you wouldn't have had to pay him $9.5 million. In my opinion, that was just a dumb move. But then they kind of, came back and they got Marc-Andre Fleury for free, which I thought this deal was amazing. Now, Fleury's a pretty damn good goalie. He was probably one of his best years just last year with the Vegas Golden Knights, having a .928 save percentage, a .198, was insane in the playoffs, and was a real big reason why the Vegas Golden Knights went deep, was because of Marc-Andre Fleury, and they got him for free, which was, a dumb move, not a dumb move by, Vegas, but an asshole move by the Vegas Golden Knights. But they got Marc-Andre Fleury for free there in Chicago, and it looks weird, but that's a goalie the Chicago Blackhawks need. And then they also have Kevin Lankinen, who also played really good last year as well. That's going to be a really good tandem going into this upcoming season, and I like what they're doing with their goaltending. It's just, can Fleury play the way that he did last year, especially, he is getting a little bit older, and will we start seeing that decline with his, as the years go on? But it's only a 1-year deal, so it's not even that high of a risk move, and you got the guy for free. So that's a huge W in it anyways. Then you also picked up Tyler Johnson, which they traded away Brent Seabrook. He was practically an LTIR bum. Tyler Johnson, he's struggled over the past little bit. We'll see how well he does here in Chicago, but I don't think he's going to be that fantastic. But they did get a second-round pick. It wasn't a bad move, but this would be kind of like a trade you would see from a rebuilding team, not from Chicago. So maybe they're seeing something in Tyler Johnson I'm not seeing, because I remember Tyler Johnson, maybe it was because he was playing less ice time there in Tampa, and that's why he wasn't putting up a lot of offense, and that's maybe what Chicago thought. Maybe they could, put this player together and make him good again. Who knows? But he was playing fourth line minutes near the end, and he wasn't getting a lot of ice time and wasn't playing with a lot of great line mates. So maybe with him getting, a little bit better line mates here in Chicago, maybe he'll be able to play a little bit better. Who knows? And then they also traded away Nikita Zadorov for the third-round pick as well, which was a pretty good deal because Zadorov was only a defensive defenseman, and they picked up Jake McCabe in free agency anyways to kind of come back for that move. For the draft, I thought it was a pretty weak draft for them. They didn't get a whole lot. The only player that they got that was, kind of any of name was Colton Dock. He's the brother of Kirby Dock. They kind of drafted him, they kind of reached for him a little bit. This year he did pop off 20 points in 20 games. He does look pretty good. Who knows what it'll turn out to be. Plus, he gets to play with his brother, and now they have two brothers, basically, because they also, I forgot to talk about one other deal that we totally forgot to go over. Was the Duncan Keith, where they traded away Duncan Keith for Caleb Jones and a conditional third-round pick, which was a steal. Honestly, this was a steal because when they traded away, Brett Seabrook, they got back a pick, but when they traded away Keith, they got back a pick as well, which is absolutely nuts. It's crazy that they didn't have to take any salary cap in this deal, and they got a really good player in Caleb Jones and also a pick, and they dumped off a player who was not playing very good and is never worth $5.5 million, and I absolutely hate that deal as an Edmonton Oiler, but good jobs for Chicago, because my lord, that was an amazing deal. And like, I gotta say, looking over the Chicago Blackhawks offseason, like, so far, looking over everything, it's not that bad. It's honestly a pretty good offseason, but for the fact that they got Seth Jones at a $9.5 million deal. They also got Gaudette. I think they traded for him last year, I think. And then the Jujhar Khaira, not a bad move. He's a, big burly player, good defensively. He's great on the PK. Jake McCabe, that was a really good defensive move. I thought that was amazing. 4 years at $4 million, and is a player that we're going to be quickly taking over a look at his analytics. And now make sure to go check out Jay Fresh. His link will be down in the description below. Jake McCabe last year for the Buffalo Sabres was absolutely amazing, and here's why. He has just been a growing player defensively. His defensive game has always been pretty good ever since like 18-19. It was pretty good. But the last two seasons, he's been really good defensively on a team that wasn't very good there in Buffalo. So I think this is an amazing pickup and was one of their best defensive pickups over this past offseason, and is a big reason why I'm not a huge hater of what they got going back there with their defensive core. And then also Brandon Hagel signed to a 3-year $1.5 million deal. So I gotta say, the Chicago Blackhawks, they're not looking like a bad team. Last year without Taves and all that, they had 24 wins, 25 losses, 7 overtime losses, 55 points. They finished 6th in the Central Division. They weren't bad. They were actually almost in that playoff mix. Just, they weren't that good of a team. But this year, they don't look that bad, and they just have to have a lot of things go right. The depth, there's going to be a lot of big questions there. Can Hagel keep on going the way that he's going? Gaudette, can he have a kind of a bounce back season? Ryan Carpenter, can he keep playing good defensively? Nylander, they still have to get him to, I guess they already signed him to a contract. Never mind. But Nylander will be playing, and also Bjorkstrom. How well will they do as your third line with Dylan Strome there? Will they be trading away Dylan Strome? Will Taves be back and fully healthy for this upcoming season? Tyler Johnson, how well will he do high up in the lineup? Is he going to keep on decline, or is he going to be able to bounce back? That's going to be a big question. I could possibly see Tyler Johnson bouncing back and throwing up a good 15-20 goals this season, honestly. If he's playing alongside of Jonathan Taves and Dominic Kubalik, I could see him actually produce a decent amount of points going into the season, because you look at the line, the amount of minutes he was only getting about 13-39, which was the same amount as Hagel, and he was still putting up a decent amount of points. With the more minutes I think he gets, he'll be able to put up a little bit more. Their defensive core is going to be big questions, right? It's not a bad defensive core in any means. Connor Murphy, Jake McCabe, great defense pairing. Calvin DeHaan, Seth Jones, not bad. It's just Seth Jones, that $9.5 million contract is going to be looming over him. He's not a bad defenseman. It's just he's not the greatest right now, and the biggest thing is, can he bounce back and be the defenseman the Chicago Blackhawks need, or is he just going to be an overpaid guy? We'll have to see what happens. And their goaltending is going to be the real lifesavers going into this upcoming season with Kevin Lankinen and also Marc-Andre Fleury. I think those guys will absolutely steal the show going into this next season. And they also got really good depth. Caleb Jones as a 7th defenseman, or even as a guy that could play in the lineup, is really good. And Chicago, I got to say, not bad. You know, I would probably gave this team an offseason as an A if they didn't do that Seth Jones move. I really liked the Duncan Keith move. I loved how they got rid of that contract. The Tyler Johnson move wasn't bad because if he's able to get back up to the 15-20 goals a season, it's not looking like a bad contract. What else did they do? Jake McCabe was a really good signing. The Seth Jones move was rough. I gotta say, you know, there's a lot of positives with the Marc-Andre Fleury move being free. I'm going to give him a solid, I think I'm going to go with a B. The reason why I'm going to go with a B, I would have probably went with like an A-A, because if, you know, that Seth Jones deal didn't happen, I would have probably graded them a little bit higher, but I'm going to go with a solid B, right in the middle, and it got downgraded mostly because of that Seth Jones move and the contract that they gave him. I just didn't think it was the smartest move when you had Adam Bakwas, who was a young defenseman coming up the pipeline. I know you want to try to win another one with Kane and Taves, but I don't think it's possible. I don't think this team is going to be a playoff or a real strong contender for, you know, I think they could possibly make it in, but I don't see them making it into the playoffs unless Kirby Dach has a incredible year and you have Dylan Strome pop off and Taves play really good and Kane continues doing what he's doing offensively. There's a lot of big questions with this team. I just don't believe they're going to be a playoff team this year, and I'm going to give them a solid B. So tell me guys in the comment section below what you guys thought of the Chicago Blackhawks season, or their off season I meant. Do you guys think this is going to be a playoff team or not a playoff team? Tell me guys in the comment section below, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Adios, amigos.